Hi, this is Denise from Skiptown All-Stars. We are on Wife of the Party. Today, my husband James and I interviewed LeeAnn. We had a great time. I've been wanting to do this interview ever since LeeAnn had us on her show many months ago. I think LeeAnn is so interesting and does so much for so many people and hardly ever gets a chance to talk about herself. So I dug deep, James and we asked a lot of questions to LeeAnn, and we're just thrilled to be here. So I hope you enjoy the show.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Hey, listeners. Ever wonder what it would be like to sell everything and travel the country at the tender age of 50? Well, with our last kid off to college and the ability to now work remotely, we've decided to do just that. So we're selling the house, loading up the dog, and hitting every city from California to Florida. We're scouring the country for a new place to call home and dragging you into every restaurant, Airbnb, and tourist trap we encounter along the way. This is the Skiptown All-Stars podcast. So do you need help wrapping gifts? You know, Mia's in town. Are you sure?
I've already wrapped all of them.
Okay.
Because I'm insane in the membrane.
You a little bit.
Because I don't like rest.
How many hours of sleep do you get a day?
I do pretty good with sleep. I try to get 7, but I'm not a good sleeper in this age that I'm in this menopausal. Oh, I wasn't starting. I was waiting for James.
We're always
starting.
But yeah, I mean, I sleep. I'm not a good sleeper in this. I tell you what, I haven't been a good sleeper since I had kids. I think that I gave birth and my hormones went, good luck.
Yeah. And plus you don't get a good night's sleep the first 3 years.
No,
because you're always up anyway.
Totally.
So whether it's like your hormones or the kids, you're just always up. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's ruined. It's all ruined after kids.
It's completely ruined. I know. And Isla was Georgia did not sleep well until she was about 20 months old. And then Isla was born at 25 months. And then Isla was up until she was 4. So I had 6 years of no
that's
sleep.
Pretty brutal.
And then your body gets in this rhythm of not sleeping and waking up at 2 because I used to get up at 2 and walk in the living room and just start playing. And I'd be like, girlfriend, it's 2 a.m. No. And I'd walk her back and she'd go right back to sleep. But she would wake up every single night.
At 2 a.m. At
2. Yeah. And she got herself.
Still do that? Was she a night owl?
She's a super night owl.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's her internal, natural time clock.
It's her rhythm. Yeah.
Wow.
Totally.
Okay.
So
so do you remember when you were pregnant with her? Was she tossing and turning when you were in bed all night? Like 10, 11? Oh, I know. Parker's kind of a night owl, our oldest. And I just remember when I would go to bed, she would always, it was like her waking hour, like when I was pregnant with her. But yeah, interesting, isn't it?
Isn't it? I know this. When I was pregnant with Georgia, I gained 35 pounds. I swelled up like a friggin', I don't know. I was so swollen. I was super morning sick. I was anemic. I just had so many problems with Georgia and my delivery was a disaster with her.
And
it
you
was
want to do it all over
terrible.
again.
And then with Isla, I gained 25 pounds. I had recurring nosebleeds and I delivered her in like 20 minutes. It was the easiest thing ever. And what I find fascinating about that is Georgia has Bert's blood type and Isla has mine. So I wonder if my body was like, what the hell is this foreign object?
Yes.
My body just went, no, this is not happening. And then Isla, they were like, I know what this is. And I know your body knows what is happening, your second pregnancy, but it was so drastically different.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been more different.
It's always interesting to me when I hear about women talk with other moms who had a first birth experience that was like difficult, like the pregnancy, and then you decided to have another baby. Like I'm always surprised by that. Were you just thinking like, okay, well, maybe this one will be easier?
No, I was thinking I was an only child and I will not do that to my child. Okay. So it was all about not having an only child.
Got it.
I hated being an only child. So that was it.
Okay.
I was like, if I got to do this again,
you're still going to do it.
Then I'm going to do it because I can't have her be by herself.
Yeah. Totally.
Sometimes I regret that. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No. Isla came in and she was like the Tasmanian devil. She was like, I was like, wow. she's something else. Georgia was the easiest.
Aw.
Easiest. She was so lovely. And Isla was lovely. She was full of spirit. But man,
A lot of energy.
She tried to kill herself for the first, I don't know, 2 years.
Oh, she was one of those dangerous kids.
Yeah.
Like always like hanging off the table.
Yeah.
Like,
climbing on things, digging
Yeah.
in the garbage, getting on the countertop. She walked at 9.5 months.
Oh.
Like you can't even talk to
No.
You can't even
No.
have a communication. There's no
No.
way to communicate with a 9.5 month old.
Right.
No, that's
So-
a baby on 2 feet.
It's a baby, and she was gone. Like I have a video of her I think she was 11 months carrying a huge jug of cat food. Like she was gone.
That's
Like
funny.
she
That's
started walking and went,
crazy.
"Catch me if you can." So I remember just thinking, wow. The second one is hold on, because
Yeah.
she's gonna, it was hard.
Oh,
That one.
Wow. And you survived.
I did. I love her to pieces. I love her spirit. I love the piece of her that was that.
Of course.
You know, I just had to keep her alive
Yeah.
Sure.
until I kept saying,
Okay, we have said that
That's a good
about
goal.
our daughters. Like if they're still alive, like I'll never forget a friend of mine took Parker, our oldest, he and his wife, they were very close family friends, and they took our oldest to go see the butterflies. And she was in a car seat. She was a baby. And I was like, okay, this is great. We'll have a few hours to ourselves. And he brought her back. Like they brought her back like 3 hours later. And I said, and they said, were you nervous that we had her? And I go, I've kept her alive this long. So I think you'll be just fine. The fact that I was able to keep her alive. So when you say that, that's really funny.
yeah.
Okay. So we're here. I can't believe it. Okay. So James and I have talked about this for a few months now. So are we going to open up the show with,
Yeah, let's do it.
okay.
Let's open it up.
Welcome all stars.
Slightly different set than you're used to seeing today.
Yes, we have the pleasure of interviewing LeeAnn Kreischer. This is where it all started for us. So we're
Yeah.
kind of doing a wife of the party sort of takeover because we're using her studio and we are interviewing her, which is what I've wanted to do. And I even invited her to our Airbnb, but I'm so glad that she said we could come here. Because I don't know if you remember the first conversation. I said, we'll bring our podcasting stuff and we'll interview at the Airbnb. And you said, no, it's fine. Come here.
Yeah, totally. I remember. Yeah, of course.
So,
So welcome to your own set.
yes.
I know, right? I've never been in this seat before, ever. And how long have I been doing this podcast? I don't know. 2 years? 4 years?
Now you're on the
4
other
years.
side.
I know.
It's going to be fun.
I see how challenging it is to be in this seat because you have to pivot.
I know. You're starting to sweat it out a little in the hot
Right?
seat.
Exactly.
Usually when we do our podcast, we're kind of like fly by the seat of our pants, which is what we learned from LeeAnn when we
Yeah.
were on her podcast. And for any of you who don't know this, Bert and LeeAnn suggested that James and I do a podcast about our travels. And
Yep.
LeeAnn was gracious enough to have us on her show so her listeners could be exposed to us and we could be exposed to them. And it was so sweet.
Aw.
It really was. And I've listened to LeeAnn's podcast and James has as well. And we both felt like LeeAnn is always sitting in this chair. And although she talks a lot about her life with Bert and you know, her childhood, I met LeeAnn as a mom at the high school. And the first interaction with her was just as a mom. I knew a little bit about Bert, but I actually like asked you questions, I think first just about yourself. And so I kind of wanted to do that today because I just don't think you're super accomplished on your own.
Well, thank you.
And I just kind of wanted to talk about that because I think you're so interesting.
Oh,
And-
thank you.
And I just want like our listeners to know how interesting you are. And also your own listeners. I know that they know you're interesting because they hear the show, but kind of wanted to dive a little deeper into like, you know, you and what brought you to LA. So I have a little notes. I normally don't like to, I have a little notes.
Got about 30 questions on that.
I don't want to miss anything because I know we're going to get chatting
Yeah.
and get lost in dialogue.
Totally.
And then
Well,
I'm
before we do that, I think we should actually mention to you,
Yeah.
number one, we say thank you to you all the time, and we truly are grateful. We would not have embarked upon this
Nope.
had it not been for your and Bert's encouragement. But in addition to that, I just need to say at this point how wonderful the fans of your show have been to us.
Oh, that's great.
They exchange ideas and thoughts and input with us on social media. They are on YouTube channel. We had a couple people in the past few weeks say, oh, are you ever going to be back on LeeAnn's show? And so just that support right out of the gate, I think is something that a lot of podcasters don't get.
Oh.
And so we are eternally grateful. It has helped us. It's fired us. It's fueled us as we've been trying to do episodes from one location to the next all over the country. Thank you. And thank you to your listeners.
Well, thank you, my listeners. That makes me so proud of them, who they are. That makes me really happy because I think that's the way life should be, right? Is that you are each other's biggest cheerleaders. And if you're not, then what are you doing? You know, why would you be a negative in someone's life by choice? So that makes me really proud to know that my listeners have been good to you. That's really good.
Yeah.
Okay. So this jumps the gun of some of my questions, but what you said now has to like lead into something. When I first came here and we did this podcast, I said something to you and I don't know exactly what it was, but it was along the lines of like, eye rolls that I get from friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget your answer. You said you shouldn't have those friends.
Yeah.
And I think about that comment a lot. And so as much as I have this list of questions that I want to start with, because I have a timeline of where I want to start, like talking to you, I do have to ask you, where you live and what you do makes it very difficult. And if you're not from Los Angeles, you don't live here, or you are from LA, but you aren't in the circle of people that LeeAnn and Bert are in the circle of. How do you stay authentic to yourself? Because this is one of my questions, but it's way down on the list. How do you find positive people that are just really, truly happy for you, LeeAnn? Like, honestly, like aren't friends with you because of what you have, what you do, but really, truly like want your best interest? It seems hard in this circle you're in.
I think first of all, who I am today is not who I was in my 20s, right? We all progress and learn. And I can't say that I was surrounded by authentic, well-wishing, fully positive cheerleader people in my 20s and maybe in my early 30s even. So that was a learning process. I didn't just show up like this. I had to learn who I was. And I think if you learn who you are, and you like who you are, warts and all, and you're honest with that, it's a lot easier to find people that are the same. I think sometimes
it's easier said than done, especially with who you are. Like, don't you ever feel that people want to be friends with you just because of who you are and not who you really are? Does that make sense? Do you know where I'm coming from with that?
Yeah.
Especially in LA. I'm talking about here in Los Angeles. That was like one of the biggest questions that I but again, it's down on the list, but I wanted to ask you, which is like, how do you find authentic people?
Well, I think in every community, not just in LA and not just because Bert has some notoriety, there are always people who have ulterior motives. Yeah. You could be at a church in rural Georgia and someone will have your husband's the local mechanic and you want to get your car fixed quick. I mean, I think there are people who have ulterior motives everywhere.
That's a good point.
And you have to deal with those people. And my perspective is everyone has value. Even if they want something from me that's maybe not very deep, they still have some value. So to meet that person with respect and compassion and kindness is kind of the only way to do it. For me, obviously, if someone's a complete jerk and is treating me badly, that's a different thing. But I mean, if I sniff out that someone's here for the wrong reason, I'm not unkind. I don't cut them out. I just don't include them in the things that are important to me and to my core.
Right.
One of the ways I found, I have this ladies ornament exchange luncheon that I've been doing for 19 years. I did it this past weekend. And when I was pregnant with Georgia, I had two friends who had two very small babies. And I went, and I just stopped seeing them because when you have small kids, unless you're like next door, you don't see each other.
Yeah.
So I went, okay, I see where this is going. I'm going to make sure I keep this group of people together in some capacity starting now. So we all know who we are. We're all in the beginning of this journey and we're just going to stay together. And I keep adding people to that group. but they're only authentic people. They're only people that I have a real connection with, who have a connection with me. And I think setting something like that in place, for me anyway, was really important. So I know who my real authentic group is. And as I gather more people as time goes on, and some people fade away as time goes on. And I have no judgment on any of that. A lack of judgment, I think, is something that I've really grown into, is to not judge somebody for wanting to be a friend for ulterior motives. To not think they're a bad person for wanting that. Just think that they're limited. And that maybe I have something they want. And isn't that a compliment? That's a compliment.
Oh, gosh. Okay. I cannot believe you're saying that, because no, I do not think that's a compliment.
You don't think it's a compliment?
I actually do not. I think it's a user, like a user type of person.
Oh, but you only get used if you allow yourself to get used.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's my experience of life.
That is a great way to put it. But I just see I look at you and I just see like, oh, I'm sure that people see you as an opportunity in LA. I know we talk like, yes, you're right. A mechanic in Georgia, but like, it's different here. And if you don't live here, you don't see how different it is here. It's just so different. There are so much more hangers on. Am I saying it right? Like,
you are.
And
it's a built-in component, I think, of the industry that we all sort of circle ourselves in. But I think to your point, as you get a little older, your radar gets a little better at sort of detecting that. You handle it a different way, obviously, than Denise handles it, where you're not judgmental. But at the same time, I think that the minute you can detect it, at least you're informed enough to make a decision on how you want to proceed.
Right.
I think you're so kind about it. Like, for you to say they have something to offer. What gets a compliment that they think I have something to offer? That's so interesting. I'm going to have to think about that for a minute.
Well, I mean, and what you're describing sounds like from your perspective, you've had some experiences that have left you feeling like yucky. And I haven't had that. That hasn't been my experience.
I've seen it. Like, James and I are just two normal people, but I've actually seen it.
Yeah, nobody wants anything from me. Let's just say that at the outset right now. Like, I'm useful to no one.
Oh, that's not true. I don't believe that at all.
But just living here, being around people who we've definitely have been friends with people who had some sort of celebrity, who had a little bit of money or a lot of money. And I worked as a personal assistant for many years. And so I even saw those families have hanger-ons, if that makes sense. So I just thought like that was one of the questions that I really wanted to talk to you about. But that, like I said, was later on, was just because you're in this circle and you're so kind and you're so authentic. And it's like, oh, how do you deal with it? But you obviously look at it as a compliment, and you seem to weed it out very well. So I compliment you on that and applaud you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
but part of this is choices that you make. You know, when we were living in Hollywood when we bought our house here, and when we were looking to buy, I was touring schools because I had a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. And so I was touring elementary schools. And I was looking at the education. I was looking at, the statistics, so to speak, of the school. Yeah. But I was shopping the people. So I would go in the school and go, what are these moms like? Oh, I can't be in that group. Okay. I don't understand that group.
That's interesting, because everybody, I think a lot of people who live in big cities find this to be like, I grew up in the sticks. Not as small as you, but similar, But yeah, like there was one choice where to go to school. Whereas here in the big cities, it is a bit of a game and a hustle, to get your kids in. So the fact that you're trying to detect what the caliber of people are that you're going to be surrounding yourselves with for the next 4 years, I think a lot of times gets overlooked. Like you're looking at GPAs and
that's right,
and coursework and all that stuff.
Well, I didn't have academic kids. They're smart, bright kids, but we're not an academically driven family. It took Bert 7 years to graduate from college. I never graduated from college. Right. We are creative people, and
so being around a certain group of moms was very important to you.
Yes. Because I grew up so blue collar, I think, and Bert grew up very white collar, we have a blended family in that way, in that we have some value systems that line up and some that don't oppose each other, but have different ways of filtering the world. And so when I was shopping elementary schools, I was shopping the community. And I chose this house that we bought partly because we could afford it and partly because I liked the community that the elementary school represented. Okay. And so once we got in that school, I said to Bert, I'm getting involved in this community, that I am going to hitch my wagon up to this. And that is where a majority of my essential friends are from.
Okay.
They're from that community. But would Bert have done that? No. He would have looked at the price tag of the house.
Yeah.
What car are they driving? Who does that person? He's more of that mentality. I am not that mentality.
Would be like that.
I think so. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
That just doesn't work for me. And I'm the boots on the ground in this family. Mm-hmm. He's never home. Mm-hmm. So I'm the one that's volunteering. I'm the one that's, sure. Co-parenting. I'm the one that's in the Girl Scout troop meetings with these other families and parents. So for me, it was important to make the community choice. And I have to tell you, the community we chose was far better than I even expected.
Nice.
Well, you have such good friends. I see. Yes. Friends. And you've been friends with them for years since you joined that school. That's clearly. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's incredible.
It is. And they're all, and they all knew us before Bert was very successful. I mean, he was on his way for sure. He had a show on Travel Channel, but he definitely was not what he is today. So all those friendships, we don't have to think about.
Right.
That is very true.
We don't need to think about that.
Since the beginning.
They've been there because they love us.
Right.
And we're there because we love them. And that all started from a very base, a set of values where we all cared about our kids, our neighbors, our school, our teachers, our community. We all cared for each other in that community. I miss that neighborhood a lot because you could walk up and down the street. I knew every neighbor for blocks.
Aww.
And that's very much like my hometown.
Yeah.
So I didn't know when we moved there it would be that, but I knew when I was touring the school, I liked the adults that were volunteering in the school. So I don't know. So as far as feeling like people are here to take advantage, not a lot of new people have shown up. And part of that may be out of necessity. Like we don't need a lot of new people. Mm-hmm. We're kind of like, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when new people show up, we have this group to juxtapose them with and
that's
go,
true.
That is not this.
Right.
That's great to go to dinner. We'll go to dinner. We'll go do some things. And that's not an disingenuine thing to go to dinner with someone who's not eventually going to be like your ride or die. You can go to dinner and enjoy someone's company and not be a ride or die for them and just enjoy their company and have it be that and not be superficial or super shallow. It's just a different kind of relationship than the people that you really invest in you. So I don't know. I haven't really experienced that in Hollywood. And I don't know that Bert has either, of anybody who's like, we feel like is using us or is asking things of us for their own means or ends or whatever. We just don't live in that world.
Well, it's funny because, obviously it's no secret. Ellie spent a lot of time here over the summer. Our daughter, she's very good friends with Georgia. She was just here. Georgia, she was just here last night.
Yep.
Ellie was at the house and I had some friends over and we were just talking about, her being at least, I think she literally came from your house that day. And I was laughing with my girlfriend, who's like one of my closest friends, Carly. And I said to Carly, LeeAnn is so amazing. Like you are, you're a great parent and just, you're so involved. And I said, you know what's crazy about LeeAnn? And I can say this by living in LA, because I lived in Chicago for many years and it's different. I said, LeeAnn doesn't do that I know of with, Ellie being here all summer, the lunches with the ladies at Neiman's. She doesn't do that. I go, and I said, wait.
No, I do not.
But there are a lot of small town girls who move here and want lunches with the
I know
ladies
exactly who I am, and I ain't that.
Yeah. But you're kind of
you're an anomaly, honestly. Like you kind of are. Like, I don't think you realize
think I am an anomaly, really?
Oh. Yes.
I think you're probably in a fair minority.
Yes.
Sorry.
How funny. I'm so oblivious. I have no idea.
We were laughing. So I said to my girlfriend, what did I say? I said something along the lines, but she has been my friend forever. I said, if I were LeeAnn, I said, I wouldn't be friends with you anymore, Carly. And Carly goes, I wouldn't be friends with you either. And I'd be driving a bigger Range Rover. Carly was like, I wouldn't be friends with you. And I would have a Birkin bag. And we were just laughing.
I'm just looking forward to lunch at Neiman's myself. So.
I can do that too, baby. I didn't even know Neiman served lunch.
Oh, they do? It's very
They do.
fancy.
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah. So this is what I'm saying about you. Like, it's incredible. You don't lunch with the ladies. You don't have a Birkin bag. You don't even probably know what a Birkin bag is.
I don't know what a Birkin bag is.
Yeah, and of
what
course
is
you
that?
don't. It's an Hermes. It's one of the most expensive bags.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
The fact that you don't even know what this is awesome. This is what I love.
Is it awesome? I mean, sometimes I feel like that I should. Here's an example. I got invited to something that had a lot of Hollywood hobnobs or whatever.
Okay.
And then I'm like,
how do you feel about being around those ladies?
Well, I have mixed feelings about it because I feel like I am who I am. I have no apologies or embarrassment with that. I do not feel like I am less than because I don't know what a Birkin bag is. I just feel like I have different interests. So, but at the same time, sometimes I don't know what to talk about. Like I don't know because my conversations tend to be about things that are either really goofy or very real.
Okay.
Like I don't know anything about fashion. I still shop at Target for some of my clothes. I don't
LeeAnn,
know anything about
stop it
bags
right now.
Like if I have a designer bag, it's fake. It's not real.
Oh.
I don't buy real bags. I think that's, in my opinion, I'd rather spend that money somewhere else. So I'm still very much the girl in the trailer park.
I need to know how you stayed like this. I need to know how you stayed like this. Like everybody wants to know how you stayed like this.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I just went. I think to be honest with you, I think it might be my value system. Like a core value system that I have never changed.
Okay, but you didn't grow up with money, LeeAnn. So when you have money, how have you not gone a little crazy, hon? Like honestly, how have you?
You don't think my house is a little crazy? My house is pretty big.
It is,
I got a fantastic yard. But that's important to me. I may not have had a lot of money, but we grew up with a lot of land. I had a lot of land. I grew up. My grandparents had an 88 acre farm. So I like land. Like that's where I put my money.
Okay.
So I don't want a Birkin bag. I want another yard. I want another house. I want a house in the mountains. That's what I want.
Okay. So when you show up at an event, like you said, with the ladies, do you ever feel pressure to be somebody different then?
Oh no, I don't feel pressure to be someone different. Sometimes I feel underdressed.
Okay.
Or underdressed. I always feel like, well, the pants are for Target, but I got the jacket from Banana Republic. I understand that you're wearing Gucci, but I don't even understand what that is. I mean, I know what Gucci is, but could you see Gucci on me? No. Okay. I'd look ridiculous in something Gucci. I'd look ridiculous. I'd be so not myself that I don't know where you buy myself in a designer. I don't have the body. I'm a petite. Like all my clothes, I have to buy petites. What?
They're just going to have to hire somebody to do custom clothing.
I'm not doing that either because I'm spending the money on the yard. Remember?
Okay, they do make Gucci and petite. I'll just let you know that right now.
Oh
I don't know nothing about that, but I don't know. When I was in my 20s, I was so off in a ditch in who I was and my own self-destructive behavior. So I had to come up with a map for me to stay on track. So I had a person say to me, ask yourself when you do something, is this an integrity for you? Everyone has their own integradometer, right? Mm-hmm. Your integrity is different than mine. Mm-hmm. What's important to you is different from each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you need to know what that is. And it takes a long time for you to really know what that is. I think it took me probably 10 years to really figure out all the things that were part of my own personal integrity. And having a bag or a car doesn't line up with that for me. What lines up with that for me is feeling safe and secure. Like I used to pray not to be rich ever. I always prayed to be financially secure so I don't have to worry about money. Because I spent my whole childhood going, we don't have money. We don't have money. We don't have money. I just told this story today to my trainer's son. He's taking his girlfriend to Disney World. And I was like, I went to Disney World once. I was about 10 years old. And my mom had promised to take me to Disney World. And at the time when you got there, you had to buy tickets for every ride. So we walked in and went, oh, I will not be doing that. And left. And I'd been waiting to go to Disney World for years. And I didn't get to go to Disney World because of money. It was too much. So we sat in a hotel room for the whole time.
Wow.
And I didn't get to go to Disney World. So money was like that for me. You know, money was not, we were never hungry. I was never without my basic needs, but we didn't have extra a whole lot. So my prayers were about being secure, not about being rich. So perhaps if my value system was about being wealthy, I would then, the bag or the car would line up with that. But that has never been, and there's nothing wrong with that value system. If that's what someone wants for themselves, freaking go for it. I'll be your biggest cheerleader. But for me personally, that wasn't my value system. My value system was to create a loving, stable, happy, secure environment for myself and the people I love. And the side effect of that is all of this other stuff. So I still keep going back to that integrity piece still every day with every decision. It's become automatic now because I've been doing it so long. Is this friendship in integrity? Yes or no? Super easy to answer that question. And then you know how to act. I don't know if that seems very rambling.
No,
but
not at all. Not at all. It was
those things that some women come to Hollywood for, which is valid and amazing and awesome. I have a really good friend who came to Hollywood to have the Gucci, the Prada, the Lamborghini, and she has it and she's happy. Fucking fantastic.
Yeah, right.
I didn't come to Hollywood for that. I came to Hollywood to create, and I am still creating. And in that creativity, I wanted to be secure, and that's all I wanted to be.
Okay, so that brings me to my question, which is how we could start.
Let's talk about young LeeAnn with her suitcases packed for LA. Right?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So you came to LA, and I read, and so tell me if it's accurate. You came because you originally to be an actress. Is that in fact true?
Yes, I actually went to New York first and studied acting. I'm a Meisner trained actor, and I acted in New York. And then I started writing in New York and acting in what I had written. And New York is a hard place to live. So after 4 years, I was getting very like, I need land, I need space. I mean, I grew up in rural Georgia, and at a certain point, and I wasn't finding my people in New York.
Okay.
And I was working in New York, but only in things that I was creating. But I have a Southern accent. People kept going, well, get rid of your accent. And I'd be like, well, I can't. I've been working on it and it's not going. So I was like, let me try LA. I'm going to move out there, keep my apartment in New York, just in case I hate it, and just see what happens. So I moved out here as an actress, and I had a couple meetings with some agents. And this one agent goes, yeah, okay, you have a choice to make. I weighed 110 pounds. At the time. He said, you need to lose about 10, 15 pounds, or you need to get really fat. You have two choices. You can be the skinny ingenue or the fat best friend.
Wow.
And he said, if I were you, I'd start smoking cigarettes and stop eating lunch. And I went, I'm not sure this is right for me. This is not lining up with my integrity. I've been working on my integrity and this does not work. Wow. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to focus on writing. And then if acting opportunities come up, I'll do that. So that's what I did. I started writing a lot. And then I was acting in like AFI final projects for a couple people who then hired me for multiple projects. So I would only act for people who I knew I could not do the audition game. It was not for me because I would be like, oh no, she would be better than me for this role. Oh, you should give it to her.
You should. Yeah, that's not a good actress would do. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You're not going to get any roles if you do that. Okay, so really quick, when you told your family that you were going to move to New York to be an actress, how was it received? Because you're a country girl saying you want to like hit the big city and be famous, basically, because nobody says they want to be an actress to just not ever be on TV. So you knew that you wanted to one day be on TV. How was that received back home?
Well, you know what's interesting? I don't know that now in retrospect and looking back, I remember watching the Academy Awards in Georgia going, I want to be there. But I don't know that I ever thought I want to be there as an actress. I just kept thinking, I want to be there. I want to be with those people. I want to be with that group of people. That was my aspiration. And I think the only way, being from a small town, the only way, the most visual person is an actor. Yeah. So then you think, well, I'm going to be an actor. I didn't even know director, writer. Right. I didn't know any of that until I moved to New York and went, oh, wait a minute.
Lots of opportunities.
There are all these other things.
Jobs,
I mean, nobody did anything like that. However, my mom was a model. She was the highest paid model in Atlanta for about 9 years. She was a model forever.
Wow.
Also, she's from a smaller town than I'm from. Married my dad. They were high school sweethearts and got married. And she worked in a factory that made men's suits and paid my dad's way through a couple of technical school certification programs to be a mechanic. And once he started his auto mechanic business, he said to her, now it's your turn. What do you want to do? I'm working. I'll pay for you to do whatever. So she wanted to go to Barbizon.
Oh, nice.
And be a model. And
Nice.
so he paid for that. And she became a model. And that's a whole big, complicated childhood story. But they divorced. She moved to Atlanta and was, in fact, a model. She moved me to Atlanta with her when I was 7.
So it's not so for you to say, I want to go to New York and be an actress, she was probably like, go ahead, honey, do your best.
Yes.
Okay.
She was supportive.
Your dad?
My dad was, my dad is so very wise. I lived in Atlanta from 7 to 13. And then at 13, you could choose where you wanted to live.
Yeah.
I did not have a good relationship with my mom. I don't have a relationship with my mom now. And in my opinion, there's a lot of mental illness with my mom. So at 13, I could choose, and I chose to move back with my dad. And when I moved back, he said to me, you're not going to stay here. You've already lived in the city. You're never going to stay here.
Interesting.
It's never going to hold you. So I'm just waiting for the day when you're telling me you're moving. So he was waiting for it. He never really was like, you're going to be an actor. He was never like that. He was waiting for the day when I was going to launch to the big city.
Got it.
So he was supportive in a very, I don't like this way. Not because I don't like that you're an actor, but I'm
just worried about you and your future kind of way.
I mean, he lived in this town of 1,600 people his entire life. He never lived anywhere else.
Yeah, so New York is like a foreign country.
I'd moved there. I'd never been there. So I was like, I don't know about this Big Apple, but I can't do Atlanta. Atlanta was not my speed.
Okay.
So I was like, I got to find somewhere. I'd started acting in Atlanta, and my teacher in Atlanta said, you're actually very talented, but you need to train. So you need to go to New York if this is what you want to do. And I was in college and I was miserable. And I had a lot of really heavy stuff happen in college.
I don't know. I've heard of
super heavy. With my dad and his wife divorced, and then my dad had a bit of a breakdown, moved in the dorm with me.
Wow.
That one I did not hear. Okay.
At the same time, this other stuff was happening.
Wow, okay.
And it was just too much. And I was drinking too much. And I drank so much, I lost my hair. My liver became enlarged. I was in very bad shape. My sorority told me I should go to rehab. I was in bad shape. So I pulled out of college to kind of reset. And my mom was like, why don't you take an acting class just for shits and giggles, just to have something to do.
Oh, interesting.
See if you like it, So that's what I did. I did it because I was really lost. And acting wasn't the answer for me. Acting was the catalyst that got me to all of these other things. Acting is what got me into therapy. And I don't know that I would be this today without therapy.
Okay.
I don't think it's possible at all.
Probably not.
And
honestly,
then,
because you need with all traumatic things that happen in anyone's life, if you don't have a professional to talk to, because your friends can only help so much, really. And, there's they're not trained.
And this was way above most people's pay grade.
Yeah.
To have, my mom is divorced her 6th husband now. She's been through all these, I really believe that she has I believe that she has a personality disorder. And to be raised by someone who has a personality disorder, be the only child, and be the focus of all of that control and judgment and intensity is a lot to unravel. To find who you really are after all of who you've been told you are is stripped away. I couldn't have done that by myself.
It's incredible that you did not end up like an alcoholic with.
Oh, I was.
I mean, but like your just life completely destroyed. That you actually made that decision to make a change. Do you know, like most people don't do that.
I agree with you. And I think, I don't know why I had that instinct or wisdom or whatever, or I just got fed up with being unhappy.
Yeah.
I got really fed up with being unhappy. My dad, happiest person you'll ever meet, never unhappy, never in a bad mood. Nothing's ever too big of a problem. Not really. He's just so jolly happy. And I was always unhappy, but knew that wasn't like real, or it was a choice. Somehow I was like, this
can be different.
This can't be my whole life. Like for the next 60 years, I'm not doing this for the next 60 years. No way. There's got to be something different. And I think I always, from a young age, knew that my mom was not right. Like, you know, when your mom goes, hey, I need you to tell this lie.
Yeah.
And here's the lie. And here's how you're going to sell it.
That's a lot for a little kid to like process.
But then my dad's at home going, we don't lie. We don't cheat. We don't steal. My mom's going, put this in your purse. Oh. If you get busted, they won't do anything to you. You're a kid.
You're little. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I had my dad's voice going, you know,
we don't do that.
Think this is right.
Dissonance there. Yeah, for sure.
I'm pretty sure this is not what the Bible says. Yeah. So I don't think this is right. So I think from a young age, I knew that things were not right. So once I got into therapy, New York for me was about acting, and New York, I think what it did for me was to get me out of Georgia, get me into therapy. Georgia and therapy don't all go together culturally.
It's true.
No,
wow.
For sure. Yeah.
And I didn't go there to get into therapy. I got there and things fell so apart that I thought, this is above my pay grade. Like my car's broke down so much, I got to find a mechanic at this point, or we're not going to get it back on the road.
Yeah.
So
it is amazing when you're on your own like that, especially as a young person, how, you know, you go to this other place. Like in my case, it was coming to Los Angeles, and you get there, and rather than it sort of improving who you are, it exacerbates it to the degree where you're like, I don't even know if I can stay here in this city. So, I can totally relate to that for sure. And it's going back to therapy. It is really important. Like, you know, you can have as many great friends as you want or as you can gather, but you just need an objective third party, because eventually the best of friends get tired of hearing the same old problems.
It's true.
Right.
It's true. And you know, the thing about me is I don't like negative cycles, and your whole life is cyclical. Every 7 years your body regenerates itself, blah blah blah. There's cycle after cycle, but I was in cycles that I couldn't identify myself, that my therapist went, this is this relationship with your mom, this is this relationship with your dad, whatever. And so until I could see the cycle, I couldn't break it. So that's what therapy did for me, is just to help me break the cycles that were put in place by bad experience, bad parenting, bad whatever, fill in the blank. But yeah, so anyway, going to New York started out about acting, ended up about me really figuring out who I was and trying to kind of rewire myself a little bit.
Did you stop drinking when you were in New York?
I stopped drinking before that.
You did?
There was a plethora of warnings for me to stop drinking.
Okay.
And I met this guy who, I've told this story before on the podcast, but I went to a Halloween party and there was a psychic tent at the Halloween party. And the psychic went, ooh, you have really bad headaches. And I said, yes, I do. And she goes, I think I know a guy that can help you. He's amazing. He does Reiki and he can help you. So I was like, give me his number. I did. I had terrible headaches. So I walked into him and he did the same thing. He went, ooh, you have stuff with your mother. And I went,
Oh my gosh.
yes,
Wow,
I
that's
do.
wild.
And he
Wait,
goes,
so I don't know. What is Reiki? Is that what you said? Sorry.
Reiki is a form of healing where they manipulate energy in your
Okay.
body and pull it out of your body. Some people think it's like fooey.
By doing what? Like how do they do it?
They're healers.
Okay. So
They're
there's actually like
hands-on.
They're
hands-on.
healers
Okay.
with their hands.
And then they like manipulate your
You've
energy.
lived in LA. How do you not know Reiki?
I thought I knew everything. I work in TV. Like I've seen a
You
bunch
don't
of
know
shit over the
Birkin-
years, but
you
I've
know-
never seen that.
You don't
so
know Birkin bag, and he doesn't know Reiki. Where the hell
I
are
know.
we?
useless over
we're all
here.
on
The
the wrong
couch is
show
useless.
today. What the hell?
Couch is useless. No. So he like as soon as I walked in, you got stuff with your mom and you have really bad headaches. And he said this to me. He did the session and he goes, okay, I can help you. But once we start, you can't go back. And things are going to change. People are going to fall away and you're going to move ahead and it's going to be really hard. But it's your choice.
Oh, this is heavy stuff
That
from a
is heavy
Reiki.
stuff.
He said it,
Especially for a young
but he
person.
was right. I was 20.
Okay. Yeah, really young.
I was 20. And I went, what's happening here ain't working.
Okay.
So I'll take it. I'll take my
that's
chances.
incredible. The wiseness from your dad has definitely transferred to you because at 20 years old, most kids would have said, yeah, I'm going to get a beer. Honestly, they would have been like, this is voodoo bullshit and I'm going to go get a beer.
Totally.
So that's amazing, LeeAnn.
I think it's from this very kind of salt of the earth farmer, really basic right and wrong theory background from my dad's family. Is it right or is it wrong? It's pretty clear.
Yeah.
It's true.
There's no like bullshitting your way
think,
into
yeah.
being
It is
right.
true.
It's either right or wrong and you know it. So
Yeah.
do it right. I mean, that's how I was brought up.
So he does the Reiki. How many sessions do you remember? Was it months? And then things started changing in your life.
It was a year and a half.
Wow.
I went once
you
a
were committed.
week for 6 months. And then after that, I went every other week and then once every 3 weeks. And we just kind of weaned myself out of it. And I was committed. I was off in a ditch. I'd had a DUI. I'd had a date rape. I'd had a divorce with my my stepmother who had been in my life since I was 8.
Yeah.
I had my mom and I are in and out of a relationship. And that was damaging. I lost my hair. My liver was inflamed. I think when I finally, right before I met Scott, I woke up in my bedroom.
What were we? Were we in Georgia still?
Yeah,
at this
still in
point?
Georgia.
Okay,
I woke up in my bedroom and I didn't know how I got home.
Oh yeah, that's
And window was open and I see outside the window a shoe, which was mine. And then I followed my path back to my car with the door open and the keys in it. So I'd driven myself home and took my clothes off on the way to crawling into my window.
wow.
And I was like,
You were in a hurry to get to bed then.
perhaps this is problematic. So
You're like, F this shit.
yeah. I think had I not gone to therapy and I had continued that path, I probably would have died. Because my liver was so, I
for sure.
I lost my hair.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
were very young. So to be at that point at such a young age. So how did you not start drinking when you came to LA? So you have this agent who says to you,
I
lose
drink,
weight.
but I don't drink for that reason. Here's what happened is I got into therapy and I went, oh, the drinking is about pain.
Yes, to definitely subduing that pain. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, well, if I handle the pain, the drinking means something different. So I maybe have 1 or 2 drinks
Got
a
it.
month.
Yeah.
Now I don't drink. I drink when there's a social occasion.
Right.
That's the only
Yeah.
time I drink. And it's been that way because I stopped drinking before with the Reiki.
Got it.
Stopped. And then when I moved to New York, I just stayed not drinking because I was like, why complicate this process?
Right.
Why would I put that layer on top of all this
Right.
other
Yeah,
stuff I'm
big
trying to
move
keep?
and all that.
Yeah.
Trying to launch a new career, all
Yeah.
that stuff. Sure.
And the integrity piece came from Reiki.
Oh,
He was
okay.
like, oh, it's the same. Is it good for me or bad for me? Here's how you can tell. Because remember, I grew up with a person who goes, put that in your bag. But,
It really
tell this lie.
blurs
Yeah.
the lines of right and wrong when your parent is doing that.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's so, I don't even know. It's how you were able to navigate life of what's right and wrong. Thankfully, you had your dad on
My
one
dad, yeah.
side. But so you come to LA.
Yeah.
And how then did you really stay straight? Like, how did you stay healthy? Because anyone who knows anything about acting would know that like that path is you are bombarded with rejection. So, okay. So you get this,
but I dropped that path real quick.
Okay. So you get the agent who says lose 10 pounds and then you're like, okay, this is not for me.
Right.
When did you decide that writing was for you? You were writing in New York, but when did you decide, okay, I'm here in LA. I want to act. This guy tells me this, not really interested in doing that. How did you know then you're going to go back to writing? You must have really enjoyed it in New York then.
I did.
Okay.
I loved it. And I enjoyed it here. And when he said that and I went, okay, this is not for me, I was already writing stuff because I'd started writing in New York. So I didn't like stop and then start. I just continued on.
It's the old adage, writers write.
They
just do.
Yeah,
They do.
That's what I was doing. I was writing screenplays even then. And then
what was your goal? Like, so I read that you rented office space somewhere in Hollywood. Is that true?
no, I didn't. Where'd you read that?
Oh yeah. I read that in an article that like you had rented office space with a friend. And I was curious, like, was that where you thought like, okay, this is going to be like my space to write? And did you have like, what were your dreams about writing? Like, did you want to sell a screenplay and make a big movie? Were you interested? Like, tell us, what is it?
Well, I was writing by myself and I had a friend here. When I moved here from New York, there were a group of actors who were moving here from New York also. So there was one person who moved here before me that I knew in New York. Her name was Liz. And Liz is a connector. She's one of those people who knows everybody. She hits the ground. She's already got 2 contacts. Now she's got 18 contacts. She knows freaking everybody.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I knew Liz. So I showed up. Hey, Liz, I'm here from New York. And I don't know how long it was after I moved here, but you know, she helped me find a roommate. She helped me with a lot. And then she found out I was writing and she was writing too. And she was like, why don't we try writing something together?
Oh,
and I was like, awesome.
Okay.
So we didn't rent an office space, but she managed an apartment building that had an office.
Got it.
So I would show up at her office for her day job and we would write during her day job.
Okay. Tell us, what were you writing?
We were writing rom-coms.
Okay.
And comedies. And we had a very specific process. Like before I was writing by myself. So obviously I did everything myself. But she and I would brainstorm a general idea, come up with a 1 page of like, these are the beats, like kind of like a beat sheet. And then she would type and we would talk and she would type what we were talking. And then I would read the script and give notes. And then we'd go back and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. And we wrote 8 scripts together.
Wow.
Okay, so
Yeah, so
tell
a lot of
everyone
them.
the process of like, you write these scripts because we know living in LA as a writer, it's an extremely hard profession to land basically. Like, and you're a woman in LA as a writer.
Especially at that time. I think it's, you know, now I would never say it's easy. So let's not say that, but I would say there are a lot more open doors for women now than probably there were back then.
Probably. The flip side of that, though, is no one's buying rom-coms now. They are non-existent. So
that's so true. When was the last time you saw a rom-com?
Oh, they don't buy them. No one buys them. It's so upsetting. So the genre that I worked in doesn't even really exist now.
Holy
so
cow,
there's
you're
like
so right.
one a year, maybe.
Yeah.
And at the time, rom-coms 2, 3, 4 a year.
It is true.
And I love rom-coms. So we had an agent. I mean, we sent our spec script to an agent. He picked us up. It was a literary agent and shopped us around. We sold one script that got made that was shown at I say Cannes. Is it Cannes? I don't know.
It might be Can.
Shown
Am I
over
saying
there.
it Con? I said it wrong.
Where
I
I'm
have
from,
no
it's
idea.
Can.
Oh, well, you say crick. So that
It's
doesn't
in the
even-
crick?
I do say crick.
We're in the crick.
Oh, he
You know what a
says
crick is?
Do you know what a crick
No.
is?
You don't know what a crick is?
Well, it's the
You know
water
what a
that
crick
runs
is.
behind my
Oh,
house.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
She didn't even know what it was.
It's a creek.
She asked me to
It's a
spell it. I
creek.
said CRCK.
CREEK. It's a crick. Yeah.
He spells it CRK. I'm like,
CRK?
no vowel.
It's
Nothing.
all one syllable. There are no vowels.
I pronounce it creek, so I'm sorry. But okay, so
You and your burqa bag and your creek.
No.
so fancy.
So bougie over there.
I know.
See what I gotta put up
so you
with.
were Can, right? Am I saying it right?
However you say it.
Con.
Con. Okay,
The film
Con.
festival in France.
Yes.
Yeah,
you went,
there you
okay,
go.
so you got
I
a
didn't
script,
go there.
but you
We
had a-
actually didn't even know our film was there. They didn't even tell us. So the producers, the film was made and was shown there, and I didn't even know. They didn't
So
even tell
somebody
us.
bought your script,
Yep.
made a movie,
Yep.
and it was at
The film festival. Yeah.
Con.
in France. Con. I'm going to say it wrong all the time now.
Yeah.
LeeAnn.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Why is that not in your IMDb?
I have no idea.
Okay, it should be because you have to.
I didn't know I had an IMDb.
You do. So yeah,
I didn't know I had one.
Yeah, I'm going to hire a personal assistant for you.
I know,
and we're
right?
We're going to put that on your IMDb.
I don't really care about all that stuff, though. That's the other pieces that I think that I am an anomaly in Hollywood in that way.
Okay, because everyone would be shouting it from the rooftop. That
I don't
they
give
had
a
it
shit
there.
about that. I don't care. I mean, I care that I sold a script that got made.
That's amazing.
And that is amazing. I care about that. I don't care if it's on IMDb. It's the same thing when I work with so many things with Bert, and someone else on our team gets really in a tizzy about where that person's name is listed in the credits. And I go, I don't really give a shit, man. I don't even need to be in the credits. I know what I did.
You're really secure.
Yeah. I know what I did.
Like the most secure person I've ever met.
I don't. That's
You're like an editor. We're used to not seeing our name in the credits.
Right?
You'd totally be one of us. Totally.
Writers too. I mean, they get the credit, but they don't have a lot of power sometimes unless you're like enormous. They're the least powerful people.
They get their check and that's it.
That's it.
They get written out of their own script.
That's right. I've seen it now that I'm on this end of the business. I'm like, wow, that really sucks.
It does. So you have a major writing credit, and how you must have, obviously you have more than one. So tell me, you get this script sold, then where did it go for you? Like how, okay, what were your thoughts? That's what I want to know. Were you like, my dream is to always live in LA and always be a writer? Like what were your thoughts? Because you're here and you're doing it, and that's major.
You know what's really interesting? It's a really good question. I think I always wanted to be a writer, but I think that, I was a good writer in middle school and high school. Like I got short story awards and stuff in school. So I think I've always just naturally enjoyed and been good at it. Never thought of it as a career until I came to LA. And then what happens? This is what I think is really interesting about life in general. If you are open, if you remain open to receive from the universe, then you can allow your path to be whatever it is you're supposed to receive. If you're living, as my dad says, if you're living clean, you're a good person, you're a person of integrity, person of your word, and you just ask to receive, have the path rise to meet you, it does. So yes, I was a writer when I met Bert, but I haven't really written much since I've had kids because my path shifted into being a support for my husband's path and my children's path, which is my path. And I think people think I have put myself aside, right, or I have neglected my own. I don't feel that way. I don't. I feel like Bert's path wouldn't have happened without me. I'm essential. My children wouldn't be who they are without me, and I am essential. Mm-hmm. So I can get back on that writing path, and I may never want to again, also because of what Bert and I have created together in that creative space is so fulfilling that the fulfillment is what matters to me, not the, I wrote another script. Okay, well, that would be great if that fulfills me. But it fulfills me also to know how involved I was in this last hour that's going to be on Netflix sometime early 2023. Uh-huh. Yeah. What is my involvement in that? I know what that is. Mm-hmm. And I'm good with that. That's what I need. Now, in my 20s, I probably wouldn't have said that. No. I would have said, nope, I need my name on the top of that. I need to be writer, director, blah, blah, blah. But as I've aged, my understanding of who I am and what makes me happy has aged with me. So I don't know. I took a class at UCLA in the pandemic, the UCLA Extension. That was an essay writing class. And I'm fucking fantastic at writing essays.
Nice.
I am really good at it.
Where were you during college essay time? Oh my gosh.
Well, I don't know if I was so good in college.
No, my kids. Why was Ellie not over here having you help her write her college essay?
I don't know. Well, my daughter didn't let me help her write her college essay
She's
either.
Crazy. Okay, so go ahead.
That's good. You got enough on your plate.
I know, right? But I was like, I still got it. You know, that's all I did that class. And I inspired myself.
You did it for yourself.
I did it for myself to go, do I still have it? Because the creativity has shifted into something else.
Sure.
It's not sitting at a typewriter writing, but in some ways it's still writing in that it's like carving out creativity that other people do. Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%.
So I'm not stuck on that label, so to speak, of being a writer. That was what my intention was when I dropped acting. But remember, I left Georgia to be an actor,
You
dropped
did.
it to be a writer,
Yes.
dropped it to be whatever I am now. I don't even know what to call myself. Creative producer, a podcaster, because I definitely produce in a certain way for Bert's projects. I am not an overall producer, but in a certain little avenue of his work, I am a creative partner. And I'm happy there. I'm really happy. I'm very fulfilled and happy. I don't feel like I'm missing anything.
So when you met Bert, you were a writer.
Mhm.
When then did it shift? How far into the relationship where, I mean, you were still actively writing when you met? He was actively doing stand-up.
Mhm.
So at what point was it when you actually got married or had kids where you stopped and said, okay, I'm just going to do this now? Like it had to be, was it before that or like, where was it
when
for
I got
you?
pregnant.
It was when you got pregnant.
I
Okay.
got
So you were up
really
writing.
morning sick.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes, I had written a pilot that I had raised the money for and hired a director for.
Oh, wow.
And I was about to shoot this pilot on my own dime. And I was so excited for it, got pregnant and got terribly morning sick for months. And I was like,
Oh,
I can't do anything. We put that on the shelf.
wow.
And then when you have a baby, Bert started hardcore touring when Georgia was 3 days old. So once he started touring, I was managing an apartment building while I was writing and I was waiting tables. Well, I couldn't wait tables anymore with a baby.
Uh-huh.
And so I just managed the apartment building while I had Georgia. And then Bert,
So 3
First started
days.
touring.
So you
3 days
just got her home, and
Mhm.
he's like, I gotta chase this.
How are you okay with that? Like I asked you this as a parent. I asked you this as a mom. The first thing I said to you, and all I knew when I first met LeeAnn was that your husband was a comedian, very well known. I knew this, that he had Netflix specials and that he wasn't home a lot because Ellie would say to me, oh, he's on the road. Like
Yeah.
he's not here. So the first time I sat next to you, I don't know if you remember, I said, I have 1,000 questions for you. And you said, ask away. And the first one is I said, how do you do it by yourself? Like
Uh-huh.
that's what I wanted to know because my husband's not on the road traveling, but he's a workaholic and I was alone all the time. And I have so much resentment still
Mhm.
about being alone.
Mhm.
Like, how did you do it 3 days out? Like, forget who he is now. Like back then you didn't know, like it could explode. It could not explode. I mean, he was a working comedian making money,
Mhm.
but like not to the point where like you could hire a nanny and you could like, have a companion to help you raise this child.
No.
How did you do it? Like 3 days. That's crazy.
I think it is a combination of things. I think I'm an only child. And from age 7 to 13, when my mom moved me to Atlanta, she moved us into the predominantly gay community because she thought that would be a really safe place for a little girl. And I wasn't surrounded by
that
children.
line.
I see
Yeah,
that
that's
line
really
of thinking.
smart.
That tracks.
Yeah,
That totally
yeah.
tracks.
She worked a lot. She left me home alone a lot. And so she thought in this neighborhood with a lot of gay men, they loved me and took care of me and were like moms.
Mm-hmm.
So I was alone a lot with my cat. It was just kind of me and my cat. I went to a very small private school and none of the kids lived in the neighborhood. So I grew up for those 6 years, just kind of by myself.
Okay.
Except when I was with my dad, I had tons of cousins, but I saw him, every other weekend
Right.
and 3 months in the summer. So I think I was used to being by myself. I also had two
Oh, that's a good
parents
point.
who needed, listen, I pretty much took care of myself. Like my dad was an amazing dad every other weekend.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
I walked to school. I walked home from school. I made a snack. I did everything for myself. My mom was not a neglectful mom. She was a working mom.
Mm-hmm.
And she was also not
Right.
all there.
Sure.
So I wouldn't allow myself to rely on her for a lot of stuff because it was unsafe. So I
And
just
it wasn't
handled
consistent.
It was
You knew-
inconsistent
Yeah.
and it was out of integrity
Mhm.
and it was unsafe. So if I gave her any part of my emotional life, I was very vulnerable to injury. So
Oh.
I couldn't let her care for me.
Mhm.
It was too scary.
Mhm.
So I think that's one of the reasons it really works for me is that I am used to being by myself. The other reason it works for me is that Bert is a complete and total slob. And he is horrific to live with in that way. And if he lived with me 7 days a week, 365,
So there's less work. Yeah.
I would kill him. I would skin him alive and hang him from the balcony. I couldn't do it all day, every day.
Wow.
I couldn't. And to be honest with you, when the girls were really little, he's not an instinctual caretaker.
Okay.
He doesn't go, baby's crying, let me get that. We were in the hospital. I have stitches in my body. I cannot move. Georgia starts crying and he goes, you going to get that? And I was like, I'm fucking not. You are getting that because I am blown to pieces here. Get yourself up and get that.
Oh.
And he was like, the first thing in my brain, he was like, this is really fascinating because I kept thinking, where's my mom? Like, I need my mom to get
That's
that.
awesome.
But he's honest with me about how he thinks. So imagine if that was in my face every day. If every day he's like, somebody going to get that? And I'm like, I would kill him.
That is true.
So I can't do that. So then I would get in this rhythm where I was doing everything. So when he would come home, it would be disruptive for him to take over some key pieces of
Right. Because
semantics.
you had a schedule set up. You had it all lined up and he's going to come in and ruin it.
And what would happen was I had to go to eventually the apartment building I was managing gave me 2 more apartment buildings. And so I had a physical office I had to go to.
Oh, okay.
So, and I got a raise. So I hired a nanny for those hours when I was in the office, unless Bert was home.
Okay.
So when Bert was home, he
Right.
was daddy on duty.
Uh-huh.
And I let it go. Whatever happens, if I come home and the house is a disaster, we can't afford a nanny 5 days a week.
Right.
So
And you're
the
home,
He's
so-
home.
Mhm.
He's daddy. He would put them in the stroller and go to Trader Joe's. And he was really awesome in those years. But again, it's much like my dad. Super easy to be an awesome dad 4 days a month.
It's true.
Every other weekend,
It is
you
true.
can plug in and knock that shit out of the park. 2 days a week, Bert plugged in and knocked it out of the park.
Mhm.
And I thought to myself, that's my experience too of my dad.
Wow.
Is my dad knocked it out of the park. And then I didn't see him for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then he'd knock it out of the park. Well, I somehow repeated that pattern where Bert came home,
Interesting.
Wow.
drop off, pick up, cooking dinner, changing diapers, giving baths. He was in it. And then he got to go and fulfill his dream. Right? And for him, he's such a specific bird. And I saw him do stand up and I went, this guy is so brilliant. And
Yeah.
he is a baby and doesn't even know it.
Wait, was this before you started dating him or is this while you were dating him? You saw him do,
While we were dating. I didn't even know he was a stand up. I mean, I did never seen him do stand up.
You knew he was a comedian though, right?
Yeah.
I remember. Okay.
So
So
we just met bowling.
Okay, real quick. I know you've talked about this. We're not going to go through it really, dive deep into it. But just real quick, you met Bert while you were bowling. You told me the story with a friend of yours that put a bunch of people together who was single.
Yep.
And that's how you met him. You knew he was a comedian.
Yeah.
And he had the Travel Channel at that point, right? Oh, what was he doing? Just stand up?
Just
Okay.
dates.
Okay. And then I think if I remember correctly, you told me that he took your number but never called. And
Yeah.
then you called your friend
Yeah.
and said, this guy never called me and I liked him. And what the hell?
What the
and he
hell?
was there with your friend.
Yeah.
He goes, here, talk to him. Like, do I have that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And
Yeah.
then I remember something else. It was like after that moment, you two were kind of inseparable, right?
Well, he was inseparable from
he
me.
wouldn't- right.
Yes.
I couldn't get rid
the
of
reason that resonated was because it was the same
did
story.
like
Like
hot
Denise
yoga.
dumped me one time,
Yeah.
and then I never left her house
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
again. So like we've been together ever since.
That's
So
so
it was kind of
cool.
a similar story. But anyway, that's why it resonated with me. Go on.
And so, no, but you were dating and that's when you saw him do stand up and thought he's brilliant.
Yeah, I thought this guy is really smart and he's just at the beginning. Yeah, I watched him do stand up that first time and he was like, what'd you think? And I went, I think you're a lot smarter than your jokes. And he went, oh. And I was like, well, I mean, you asked me what I think. That's what I think. I think you're not really applying yourself to the level of your intelligence. And if you would, you'd be unstoppable.
Okay, so hold
So-
on. You're a writer. Did
Uh-huh.
he ever ask you to help him write jokes?
No. I would never do that. I would
Really? Even
never
back
do
then
that.
when you were dating?
No.
Oh, tell me why.
No, because that is his territory, and I believe that to be emasculating. I am not down for that. No
Oh,
way.
wow.
He needs to stand on his own 2 feet and write every word himself. Period.
Did he ever ask you to help him?
No, he's never asked me to help him write a joke. What he asked me to do, and this is what I do.
No, I'm talking about back then when you were dating. I mean, now you guys are, I know you're a team now.
No.
Like what you do now is what different.
No.
I'm talking about when you were dating and you said you're smarter than what you're writing. He never said to you, well, help me, like make me look smarter.
No.
Because you're a writer.
No, he would ask like, why? And I would say things like, same thing I say now. You say fuck 4 times in this one story. Say it 1 time and mean it. And put a real word in the other 3 fucks. Why would you say the fucking guy with the fucking car that went to the fucking grocery store was fucked? I'm sorry. Use one of those and give me an adjective in the other ones that's meaningful and intelligent. And now you have an intelligent joke.
Did he do it?
Yeah, he's always done
That's
that.
awesome.
That's always been our relationship.
Okay.
Is that, hey, he wrote a book that I edited. Because he'd write the book and he'd go, the paper towel that was on the thing that was the things next to that thing that was that thing. And I'd go, well, how many fucking things? Say what the thing is. Just say what it is. I mean, you don't need it, but he doesn't, he's dyslexic and his brain doesn't think in that kind of specificity. But I read everything. I love to read.
Oh, nice.
So my brain thinks in specificity. So he has this big, broad brushstroke of this larger than life story that's amazing. But what makes it really amazing is that little intricacy, those subtle nuances, those tiny words that you don't even realize make it so rich.
That's true.
So that was what I meant. He's smarter than the thing that went that the thing.
Yeah.
That's not how he's smarter than that.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll give him a word. Why don't you use fantastic instead of fucked or whatever?
Yeah.
But I don't ever write, and I have never written. And sometimes he'll like brainstorm a concept.
Yeah.
And we'll back and forth a concept, but I have
bouncing
never
ideas or tweaks or whatever.
Yes.
Right.
And even with his book, he wrote it. And then I would go back and go, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And then he would go back and write it. So I've never written for him because, to be honest with you, I really think it matters to him that it's his.
Sure. Oh, okay.
That makes
for
sense.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So when you had to quit your job waiting tables and you were managing the apartment buildings, because you had managing 2, you said, right?
I had 3 buildings.
3 buildings. Okay. And you have Georgia and you're still trying to write.
No.
You stopped totally. Yep. Okay.
Yep. You know what?
This is when you put all your focus on being a mom.
Yes.
And helping Bert then build his career. So I have to ask you, as I know this is not a female male thing at all, because there are men who've put their careers on hold for their wives to, build their careers.
She just looked at me twice while she said that, by the way. Go on. Sorry. For those of you who are
this
not
is nothing
watching
personal,
on YouTube,
but
it's nothing personal as she's staring
I can't
right
even
at me.
relate, but
So how are you okay? Because you were a successful writer. You sold a script.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know this. And there are other people, and again, not male, female oriented. How are you not resentful? What if he didn't become Bert Kreischer? What if he, tell me, I need to hear this, like how you were okay with all this.
Okay. I think that this has been my mentality from the beginning. We are a team, and whoever gets us from A to B is who gets us from A to B.
Does he feel that way from the beginning? Did he feel that way from the beginning? Because that was your thought. I
have no idea. I think that he felt like we both knew only one person could hold a real job, and it wasn't him. So we could invest in mine,
right?
But he couldn't do something to support mine. I could.
Wow.
So in my opinion, if you're on a boat and you're crossing the Adriatic Sea, do you care who paddles more? No. You just want to get to the other side.
You just don't want to sink. Yeah.
I just don't want to sink. I want to get from A to B. Here's how we're getting from A to B. What was my B? Happy home, happy family, financially secure. That was my B.
And you knew you could help get you both there because you could secure the job. He couldn't manage apartment buildings. Hell no.
No.
Okay.
He couldn't. And he couldn't hold together a family like I did. And he was an excellent dad. Those 2 days a week he was home, and the week he was home once a month. He's always been an excellent dad. He never gives himself credit. No matter how far away he was never gone. He was
Aw.
always plugged in.
That's so sweet.
He knew what was happening. He knew we talked every day, just about every day. He was very present, even when he wasn't physically there.
Yeah.
And that was something we talked about too. I said, I can back you if you show up and you are here. But if you show up and you're somewhere else, I'm going to have a problem. You need to show up and be here for your kids because they didn't choose this life. They won't know any other life. So they've got to be fulfilled in this life. And if they're not, then I have a problem.
Wow. So that's where you put your foot down because you are really a wonderful partner. But you did put your foot down and say, you have to be present when you're here.
Yes. And there were times when he was coming in hot and he was calling me from the car. Like, for instance, Georgia, when she was 3, tripped on her own feet and broke her jaw right here. Broke all 4 teeth in the jaw and broke the jaw. And Bert was on tour. He was on the Jameson tour at the time, had 4 or 5 comics. And I was on stage and I called, I think I called another comic and said, something's happened. I don't want anybody to be alarmed, but he needs to call me when he gets off stage. He did. I told him what happened. Fell apart. I mean, like level 11 fell apart. And I said, I thought to myself, he has the luxury of falling apart because he's not with my kids.
You're right.
I'm not falling apart because I cannot. Because if I fall apart, Georgia will think this is really serious. It was, but she's 3.
Yeah.
So I got to keep it together. Everything's good. We're good. We're going to go see the emergency dentist. No big deal. Handle everything. Bert's falling apart. Next morning, falling apart. He's flying home, falling apart. Gets in the car from LAX, still falling apart. And I went, let me tell you something. You walk in the door of this house, you have your shit together. She is 3 years old. Cry your ass off. You walk in this door, you are her dad. And that's it. None of this bullshit. So wrap it up. And he did. So that's how we've always been. You can have it.
Do you still do it now?
Yes.
To this day, wrap that shit up?
Yes. At a certain point, I go, you got to wrap it up. Because of the 2 of us, he's definitely more emotional. He's definitely more reactive. And he's a catastrophe thinker. And he's very dramatic. And I'm not. I've had to handle myself since I was 4.
Right.
So I don't have that. I don't have that peace. So that's the way our parenting's been the whole time. If he had been there when that had happened, it probably would have been very terrifying for Georgia.
Oh, God.
It would have been
Well, thank God he wasn't there
damaging
then.
for her.
For sure.
It would have been traumatizing. So I don't know. Something I observed in my mom with her marriages is that she was never a teammate. She was about me. What are you doing for me?
Right.
Why did you do that to me? What about me? And I went, that's not working. Divorce number 6. I'm not doing that. So when I figured I was in love with Bert, I got back into therapy because I said to my therapist, I think I found my guy. I don't know how to do this. And I don't have an example in anywhere in my family of how. So I need you to help me because I'm not going to know. Fighting in my house was leaving. So if I ever went against my mom, she would stop talking to me for like a year and a half.
I thought you were going to say a week.
Oh, no, honey. No. When I moved to my dad's at 13, she didn't talk to me for a year and a half because I betrayed
Did something
her.
to her.
Right.
Yes. 23, we got in an argument because she was having an affair on her 4th husband and asked me to lie to him. And I said, no, I don't lie to anybody. Didn't talk to me for, I don't know, maybe 4 years.
Wow.
LeeAnn.
Yeah. And then 33, she did it again. And that was
she's
the last
missing
time.
out on so much. She is.
It really breaks my heart.
For her. Like she's missing out.
She's so unhappy and lonely, and it breaks my heart, but I can't have that with my kids.
You can't. You're right.
As soon as I got pregnant with Georgia, she did it again. And when she did it again, she did it via email. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't know your kids. You're dead to me. You're not my daughter. You're so disrespectful. Bullshit. I printed the email out so I would never forget. And I went, this time, it's over. You say so? I agree. This time I agree.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
So it's
am
been
dead
like
to
that
you.
since then?
Bye-bye. Yeah, she's seen my kids one time.
No way.
Twice.
Wow.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
twice.
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. No. She's not. That is not a healthy relationship for me. And it is no way going to be that way for my kids. Where I say to you, you're asking me to lie about fucking the neighbor to your husband, who's been nothing but wonderful to me.
What a terrible position she wanted to put you in.
Oh yeah. And then
that's just one of many through your course of life
one
with
of
her.
many.
Yeah.
Yes. I got subpoenaed to testify on his behalf in their divorce.
Oh, wow.
Goodness.
It was horrible.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, she's a mess.
Aw.
A mess. She's a mess.
Well, with all that being said,
Yeah.
are you the parent you've always wanted to be? Because we always have this idea. And so tell us, like,
Yeah. I mean,
I want you to start asking her some questions.
Given all of that, obviously, then we start building a template for ourselves. Do you think you live up to your own template? Like what in that moment, in those moments where you said, "I will never do this, that, this, that." As a parent, I have done the same thing with my family, different circumstances. But I think any sentient being eventually goes through that process. Like, what kind of parent am I going to be? Do you think you've lived up to your template, like what you wanted to be?
They're still young, but yeah, do you?
Yeah.
Well, I think I've done a pretty good job. But again, I've been in therapy the whole time, and I'm still in the same therapist because I feel like I don't have that consultant. I don't have that.
I know you need that. Like everyone has somebody they can it's usually their mom where they can go back and say, "Hey,
or their partner." I mean,
yes. And
but in fairness to Bert, he's got no template for what you've had to go through because he had his mom, he had his dad, and very different upbringing, So like Denise, like when I share things about my childhood, she's like, I'm off the reservation on this one. Like you should talk to somebody, So
I think I've done a pretty good job. I think I did a good job of recognizing bad patterns and thought processes before I had kids. So that when I had kids, here's the thing. My mom needed me to fit in this box. I needed to be pretty, thin. I needed to dress beautifully. I needed to behave in a certain way.
And you had to be useful when she required you to be.
Exactly. And I had to never, ever have a thought that didn't line up with hers.
Right. Okay.
That's part of the personality disorder. Is if I had a thought or an opinion that didn't line up with hers, she would feel it was life-threatening to her. Like it was danger to her. And so as I grew up, when I had kids, I thought, I want to be curious about who they are instead of telling them who they are. My mother was never curious about me. She told me you will be ABC. And if you are not ABC, you're out. I mean, I have so many examples of if you're not ABC, you're out.
Right.
And I just went, that's no way to live. That's no way to be in the world.
It'd be very difficult to be your own person. Even you probably feeling that even from a young age, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did. And I had many breakdowns in New York, like not knowing what butter to buy. Because should I buy Land O'Lakes? That's what my mom always bought. But I don't know. She would be so upset. Like they're still in you,
wow.
I'd have really big breakdowns about very simple things. When I was trying to kind of unmesh myself from all that she'd told me I was, to really figure out who I really was, because part of me is her.
Of course.
And to be able to say the part of me that's her is not dangerous to me. My mom, I actually am very much like my mom. I'm not like my dad. I'm just not damaged like she was. What happened to my mom happened from trauma.
Sure.
To her.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why she is the way she is. It's just really tragic. I wish it weren't that way.
Right.
But I think in being parented in a way that did not foster a lot of nurturing and growth,
right,
I decided I wasn't going to do that. And my dad used to make fun of me. I've also always been really curious. Like my dad used to say, you ask more questions than any person. Just stop with the questions. Because you know more questions. And I'd be like, but one more question. He's like, oh my God. I mean, I remember him getting like, oh, I've had enough questions for the day.
Right.
So I think that's my nature. So when I had Georgia, my nature was to be like, who is this little person?
Oh.
And what do you want? And how do I maximize that? And I don't think I was perfect, but my intention was right.
Right.
And with Isla too. Who are you and what do you need?
Do you ever get nervous? Because I think we say this always as adults. Like, I don't want to be like my parents, like the bad part of my parents. Do you ever get nervous? Like, do you ever, like I say, I've once heard this. Oh my God, if I get like nanny, someone tell me.
Yeah.
That's
Nanny's
funny.
my mom.
Yeah.
And now everyone tells me I'm acting like Nanny all the time. But like, there are things about your dad where you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do that.
There are moments where I've like,
Become
just
your
totally
father.
spun out. And then I realize, like, with the wrench in my hand and ready to throw it against the wall because whatever I'm trying to fix isn't working out. Like, I literally am my father in this moment.
Do you have moments like that?
Sure, of course. But I don't have, I do. Of course, I have moments like that. But I don't know. I don't really worry about it too much.
Oh, okay, good.
But I do have moments where I go, oh, but it's more like stuff like I work so much and my dad worked so much. Like that's, like I do that kind of stuff where I go, I'm working myself to death exactly like my dad did.
Right.
And, my dad's not dead. He's very healthy, but he works like a horse and I work like a horse. Sometimes I go, maybe not so balanced and that's not great. But with the parenting stuff, here's another positive. My dad was so, some stuff he was out to lunch about, he just didn't understand.
Okay.
And some stuff, this is what he did that was great. Every single night when I lived with him, he'd come in my room, he'd sit on the edge of my bed and go, how was your day?
Oh, that's awesome.
Tell me about your day. You reading a book? What you reading? Tell me about it.
You remember that. That really was so impactful that you're
Every
talking
day.
about it right now as an adult.
Yeah, every day. And I just said this on a podcast a couple days ago. My dad really liked me. He liked me.
Aw.
My mom didn't like me. He liked me. And that my dad liked me made it easier for me to like myself.
For sure.
So I thought, I like my kids and I want them to know that I really like them.
Yeah.
I really enjoy who they are.
Mm-hmm.
My dad got the biggest kick out of who I was. He still does, out of who I am. He gets a big kick. And that one little bitty thing allows you some self-esteem that is a lot more effortless, I think.
That's a very good way of putting that. Yeah.
If you feel liked by your parents, you don't even have to be fully known. He doesn't really know all of my nooks and crannies,
Right.
but he really likes me. So
That's
that makes a
good.
big difference. And
I was going to say that brings up a second question. My last question about specifically about your dad. I also had a father who was just gifted at like, keep it simple, stupid, right? He was just like, it was his mantra in life. And I don't even think he ever realized it. Do you ever have moments now, like where you're hardwired and you're like working like a horse, like you said, or whatever? Or do you ever have a moment where you detach and you say, my dad would never, ever do this, or be like, things would not be this complicated with my dad, and then try and shift? Does that ever work?
that's interesting. I don't know. I'm sure I do. Where I'm complicating, where I'm going against that grain.
Like where you say to yourself, I've overcomplicated things, like my dad or whoever that person is in our lives would never, ever do it this way. And so I ask because I specifically am incapable of doing that. Like if no matter how complicated my life's become, it's going to stay complicated. It's never going to be like my dad's life. Like I want that superpower to say, you know what? We're going to simplify this and just cut through the BS. And I'm going to let some people down or take some things off my plate. But I'm not,
You like to keep it complicated is what you're saying.
Kind of. Yeah. I mean, and I'm not saying you do because you don't seem like, but you do have a lot going on all the time. So that's why I'm asking.
Well, my dad always had a lot going on, but he kept it pretty simple too. I think I'm kind of that way. Like there's a lot going on, but I'm always like, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? What do you need?
Okay.
Boom, 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 boom. What do you need? What do you need? What do you need? Boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're very much a caregiver. So you are always taking care of people. Who was that in your family, your mom or dad? That had to be your dad, right? Or was it a product of not being taken care of, am I saying that right? Taking care of.
Not having to take care of yourself.
Yeah, you take care of yourself. So maybe you being
just
such
so
a
damn good at
caregiver.
it?
Yeah.
Maybe, my dad was caring.
Got it. But
He
you
was
still had
very loving and he was very caring and he was very affectionate. I'm not an affectionate person, actually. I mean, I'll give you a hug, but I'm not like, can we snuggle? That's not my thing. But I snuggled with my dad a lot. But, I'd like sit in his lap and watch TV and stuff when I was little. But I don't know. He wasn't I guess he did kind of go, what does she need and who is she and where's she going? So I guess I did kind of get that from my dad.
It's interesting because when, Ellie is over here and, she spent most of the summer with you. We always hear the most amazing stories about like how great of parents you and Bert are. I mean, I have to tell you that because people are always so quick to judge and just, they'll tell you what you're not doing. But the one thing I have to say
especially kids.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
They cut to the quick, don't they?
Kids.
Yeah. So whatever, look, like I can just say as another parent, you and Bert really like make the girls feel special, even on the amount of time maybe he's home or how busy you are. Like Ellie has always said how both of you have stopped down when they're around.
Yeah.
Like there's like, you've completely stopped down and like are engaging with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I have to say that's pretty amazing considering how busy the both of you are. Nobody really understands it. Like maybe your audience does, but nobody ever sees behind the scenes. Like let's talk about laundry.
Yeah.
Do we have to?
We hear a lot about laundry.
My laundry room or your laundry?
Just you're always
your
in it.
laundry.
Yeah,
You're
I am always doing laundry.
I think it must be your therapy because
I hate it. No, it is not. That is incorrect. I hate it.
Oh, Ellie says we'll finally end two places in her laundry room and podcasting.
It's probably true. I hate laundry
or
so
something
much.
like that. Ellie said it was very funny. But my point is like you're still like what is it? Boots on the ground. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, there are plenty of parents who are unaffected, I guess, when their friends show up. You don't just have Ellie. You have Mia. You have Daisy.
Yeah.
You have Sophia. You have like the whole gang.
But you make them all feel special.
Oh, that's so sweet.
How do you have time for that? It goes back to nobody knows the behind the scenes of this family's life. Nobody, not even us. But I have a little glimpse into it and how this woman and your husband make these kids feel special on the limited amount of time you have. It's
What's
unbelievable.
most important?
Oh, well,
What's the most important?
Yes, it's the family. But
It's
LeeAnn,
my kids. It's right back to that same base.
I know, but
Happy family. Happy family.
A lot of people in a busy lifestyle like yours say it, but don't do it.
Well, then they have a different integrity. And that's okay. That's their integrity. That's not mine. Mine is, I may not be able to spend an hour with you, but I can give you a focused 15 minutes. And sometimes a focused 15 minutes is better than 4 hours of unfocused.
Oh, that's so true.
My dad, again, when I showed up every other weekend, was plugged in. And then he had the, 12 days in between to be a bachelor or do whatever.
Right.
But that's what I experienced in parenting. And so that's what I have repeated is that, I'm here all the time. I can't spend all day, every day plugged in, but I need to make sure that I plug in enough so that it's felt.
Oh, that's a good approach.
And then I can go and do whatever.
And most people, I culture of social media and the phone, I think we can all agree. Parents who just maybe even work at like the grocery store or who are teachers, I don't know if they can say they plug in 15 minutes when they're home because they're pulled in so many directions. And you have the phone, this and that. So that's a really good exercise, everybody to practice. Start plugging in for at least 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
No. Yeah.
And it's not, again, if you have your integrity and your, like those core pieces that really are what you mean to be, and you practice that every day, it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
Right. And it's my second nature is to stop what I'm doing and engage, even if it's just for a minute. And then I can go back and what am I doing that's more important than that? Nothing. There's nothing that's more important than for me.
Yeah.
And Bert's the same way too. When we decided to go down this path together, the most important thing is the family. So he goes off and lives this crazy life. But when he's here, he's pretty plugged in. Even when he's busy, he always makes sure he makes a minute in the day, 15 minutes or a meal or something where he's really present. So I don't know.
Is your life what the young LeeAnn, the young LeeAnn that was praying and saying, give me security. Did you ever think it would be this?
No.
What did you think it would be?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm a really weird person where I have a lot of faith. I'm not super religious, but I just kind of gave it to God. And I didn't really have a specific vision. I had a feeling, right? It was a feeling I was going for. And I've achieved that feeling.
That's amazing.
So I didn't have a vision. You know, when people's like, visualize, you should still visualize. I didn't really do that. I think I really just I gave it to God, for lack of a better term. I believe in God myself. I have no judgment on anybody else who doesn't or whatever. But my path for me has been about being open to receiving and communicating what I feel like I need, but then surrendering that, because what you need shows up. It may not look like it may not look like what you think it is, but if you remain open,
it's true. Everything you're saying is true. Like if you just try it, it works. But you're right; it doesn't always look like the way you want it to look.
Listen, you should see some of the guys I dated before Bert. They did not look like Bert Kreischer. They looked very different. I think Bert's very handsome and very sexy, and I love him. But I was dating something I thought was sexy and handsome, and was completely wrong for me. So until I really opened up and said, God, give me what I need. Give me what I'm supposed to have that makes me happy and secure and fulfilled and interested and is fun. Give me that.
Yeah.
Got it.
He showed up.
I laughed because when you said the guys you dated before Bert, because I think Bert's attractive as well.
Yes.
And so I'm like, oh, she was dating little dweeby guys, but no, you're talking about like model looking guys.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
So, okay.
Total eye candy. Gorgeous guys that were quiet, moody, broody, distant. I can't reach him. You know, kind of things like that. Does he like me? Does he not? I don't know. It's a mystery. But, you know, my dad said to me when I was really young, I thought this was terrible. He was like, you are not going to marry a regular person. You're going to marry somebody that's not regular, because you get bored too fast. You're going to be bored. If you had a 9-to-5 guy, you'd be out the door in 6 months. That's not you. So it's going to take you longer. And it's not going to look like a duck.
Your
it's going to look
really
something
was
else.
Wise.
Wow.
Like, all these
So
anecdotes
fucking
you
amazing.
keep giving, throwing out.
my dad.
It's like, for a guy from the country, he knew a lot. That's
He's
crazy.
a very thoughtful person.
Yeah.
He's a very thoughtful person. He's a very smart person.
Just very worldly advice all around.
He just knew his daughter.
Yeah.
And I think I got that from him too. He did see me for who I was. When I come back from Atlanta, he goes, this town can't hold you now.
Oh, wow.
He saw me for who I was. He didn't
Yeah.
try to make me something else. He didn't even try to get me to stay, because he saw that's not who I am anymore.
Right.
So you can choose to control her, or you can choose to hang on and ride the ride with her. So that's what he did.
Wow.
And I think that's what I tried to do with my kids, is hang on and ride the ride with them. I think that's one of the reasons it hasn't been so hard for Georgia to go to college.
Right.
Because I've been like, this is her life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In her journey. And I just get the privilege of being a part,
Oh, that's such a great way of approaching it, because not every parent does that.
No, they don't. She's not my possession or my child or my property. She's a gift. She was a gift that the universe gave me the opportunity and the privilege of being a part of. This whole experience of helping her become her best self and her helping me become my best self is such a gift that if you look at it any other way, you're really missing out. It's not a burden. It's not a job. And she's not mine. She never has been. You know, she went through me, and that's it.
Well, jumping off of that now, so Isla still has a few years to go, but any predictions on what the new normal for LeeAnn looks like in a few years when she goes off?
I'm going to play a lot of pickleball.
Oh, you have to come and visit us, because
Denise has just the place for you.
I have no idea.
Have you started playing?
Oh, I've played like hack pickleball one time, and it was really fun, only because I
fun.
played with my friends who talk so much trash
Right.
that I was like, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know. My new normal, I'll probably meet Bert on the road more than I do now.
Sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'll probably go up to our house on the beach a little more than I do now. I'll hope I still dive into my podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll write, but you know, if you think about it, she's in school most of the day.
Yeah.
And she comes home and I spend time with her, but she already has her own life. So when she moves that to a college campus, I hope that I feel the same way I do about Georgia, that this has been a privilege for me to be a part of, and that's what she should be doing, is launching, and hope she comes back, as often as she wants. But I don't know. I don't know what my new normal will look like. I am anticipating being a little more lonely, because I'll be home alone.
Sure.
It's true.
All the time.
Yeah.
But I can fix that. I can figure that out. I have so many friends.
You do.
And and like I said, I can go meet Bert on the road and live in his slovenly hotel room for about 3 days. And I'd be like, bye-bye. Mama got to go home to some order.
Yeah.
Please.
What are you going to do with all that time of not doing laundry?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Bert's the laundry problem. Bert's the laundry problem.
Bert is okay.
He's the problem. It's not.
He brings all the clothes and,
He changes clothes like 4 times a day. Not joking.
Oh,
And they're
so
all
it's not
dirty.
even like on the road clothes. We're talking when he's home clothes.
Oh, when he's home, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
And then when he comes home from the road, he dumps his road clothes, and then he just starts like consuming.
4 times a day. Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Oh, on top of the road clothes.
Yes,
Okay.
because he works out twice a day. He spills food on everything he wears. So he's constantly, everything is dirty.
I know what that's like. Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I could shake this off and hang it back up. No, it's dirty. He's the problem. And I tried a laundry service for a while.
Yeah.
Here's the problem.
Tell me.
Someone has to bag it.
Yeah.
Someone has to schedule it.
Okay.
So you're doing half
When
the
it
work
comes
anyway,
home,
right?
Somebody has to put it away.
it has to be sorted
Oh, okay.
and then put away.
Okay. Have you ever thought, I know this is a crazy, crazy concept, a housekeeper?
My husband doesn't want any strangers in our house.
Okay. He's gone a lot, LeeAnn. When he's gone, get a housekeeper for
You might
yourself.
not know.
Well, I have a crew that comes one day a week and cleans. And like
Okay.
top to bottom cleans everything. So I don't clean the house. I maintain it between Wednesdays. They just don't do laundry.
Oh, you have to find, I'm going to hook you up with a laundry person. You need help with that laundry.
I don't know. I hate it. If I could.
Yeah.
But the problem is the same. If someone did my laundry.
They'll put it away. I will come here and help you
Oh my
show
gosh.
them
That's
where to
right.
put it, LeeAnn. I want to take one thing off your plate.
I see the
okay?
start of a new business, down low laundry service.
Yeah, right.
You just
The
throw
down
it over
low.
the back fence.
Right.
Bert will never know.
He'll never know. He'll never know.
Yeah, that is something I think that people don't know, is that now that we have this lovely house, I'm still the person like running everything.
You
I
are.
do
It's
everything.
insane. It's absolutely insane. I don't know how you do it. I mean, I have no clue. Like how you're doing laundry, you're still cooking, you're taking care of the kids, you're packing lunches, you're driving to them wherever they want to go, running errands. Like, it's insane. You don't have a personal assistant. Like, I don't know why you don't have a personal assistant. Tell us why. Do you not think you deserve one at this point?
Well, I have some help actually.
Okay.
I have one person who comes in as needed.
Okay.
So like if I have dry cleaning and the dog needs to go to the vet and the groomer.
Can this person at least throw a load of clothes in for you?
She will not do laundry.
I'm finding a laundry person.
She doesn't do laundry, but she does take some of those kind of like running around errands off my plate.
thank
She does a
goodness.
lot for my dogs.
Okay, good.
I mean, we have 3 dogs, 3 cats.
Yeah.
Somebody's at the vet constantly for one reason or another. So she helps me a little bit with that. And then we hired someone in the business end that's kind of a floater,
Okay.
kind of helps Jennifer. She's been helping me a lot for the holidays for like corporate stuff.
Okay.
But she's going to shift back to Jennifer. And so she helps me from time to time she's kind of a project-based helper.
Okay.
So I do have a little help, but I don't have a personal assistant per se. If someone needs to schedule a doctor's appointment, I do that. I mean,
I think
I
you
do
should
all
get
that.
somebody, but that's just, my 2 cents. I'm all about making your life as easy as possible because you have other things that
I do have big fish to fry.
Yeah,
We
you
got a lot of
absolutely
fish frying.
do. Yeah.
we do. And it is exhausting. But I don't know. It is what it is.
Denise
I
has
guess.
experience as a personal
I
assistant.
know.
I'm just saying.
I
She
know
told
for
me.
many years. So
Yeah.
let me hook you up.
I know, right?
Okay, before we're gonna wrap it, because I know we've been talking for a long time. We have like some things, like some fun little facts I think that we want to ask you about. You wanna
Okay.
go
You were a
first?
cheerleader.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't know that.
Well,
I didn't know that.
I know she talks about it on her podcast. So so he did not know you were a cheerleader.
Mhm.
What
Is
else?
that good or
Yeah.
bad?
I think it's cute as can
it's
be.
good. I'm just random fun facts.
Did you not think I would be a cheerleader? Were you surprised?
I didn't. I can't say I was surprised. No.
Oh,
I don't know. You see more of like, I can't, there's no
A softball girl?
I'm going to insult cheerleaders if I answer that question. So, but you're just a super intellectual person. And, but I know intellectual people could be cheerleaders. See what I'm saying? There was no way of backing out of that answer.
I actually wasn't surprised at all that she's a cheerleader because she's so cute and little.
Aw.
Cheerleaders are always little. Like
Somebody's got to be at the top of the
10 feet.
tower, right?
I was at the top of the tower.
Okay, there
I
you
weighed
go.
100 pounds in high school. Soaking wet.
She's cute and little. So I was like not surprised at all when I knew she was a cheerleader. I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
loved being a cheerleader.
We also heard about I think this is huge in the country, especially because we used to do the same, but you guys used to do like a haunted house or something like that. So a little birdie told us that you and your family would put on these big productions every Halloween.
That was my dad. Yeah.
And what about a doctor with chicken guts?
Oh, it was my dad. Yeah. So we lived in at the time it was a 180-year-old log cabin that was on an unfinished cement block basement. So they had, this log cabin was in Virginia and it was disassembled, numbered, and put on a train and driven to Georgia and then put back together on top of a full basement. So the top part of the house was really old, but the bottom was like just a cinder block basement. So my dad, his brother, spouses, I don't even know. There were like probably 5 or 6 couples that all had kids our age that put this haunted house together in the basement of our house. So for 2 weeks before Halloween, all the adults would get together and drink beer and set up this haunted house. And then the week before Halloween, we would have this Halloween, like 200 kids would come. I mean, 1,600 people in my whole hometown.
Yeah, half the school would be there,
It would be the whole, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So one year, my dad played a doctor and Joyce Robinson was the patient. And they put chicken guts on her like he had cut her open. Oh. And then as you walk past, he would throw chicken guts at you.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was amazing.
It's a 3D experience.
It was amazing. It was so awesome. They'd have people hiding in the woods, like making noise and jumping out on your car as you came down the driveway. It was insane.
How do people not scream and have heart attacks?
Bloody murder.
Yeah. Okay.
Bloody murder. It was terrifying.
Oh, it was successful.
Terrifying.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. It was so scary.
Running out from the woods and jumping on your car, whatever they're doing. I would just
chicken guts.
I would lose
That's enough.
it.
Yes. Well, that was that weekend. The weekend after, the weekend of Halloween, my dad would have a huge costume party, adults only.
Okay.
And I would get to pick up all the beer cans out of the woods the next day. And I think one year I picked up 8 full-size garbage bags of beer cans.
Wow.
So people wonder why I married who I married.
There you go.
It's my dad.
You're still picking up beer cans.
Exactly. My dad was a big party guy. He had a blast with his life. And that was an excellent example. He was never irresponsible. He was always never drank and drove. Bert never drinks and drives. But at his own house,
he threw it down.
They used to put the mattress. My dad had a king-size bed. They would pull the mattress into the living room and have wrestling matches and bet on them.
Awesome.
It would be like you and Bert wrestling, and we would bet on it. It was insane. They had so much fun.
That's so crazy.
Isn't it fun?
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's hysterical. You would love to do that, wouldn't you?
I absolutely would.
Right now at this age, you would still love to do that.
Of course. Let's get
down.
My
gosh, that's so funny. Oh, well, this was so great, LeeAnn.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, this was awesome. Thank you so much. I mean, I've been wanting to do this like since we met, really. So
really?
Yeah, I think you're interesting, and I think that the way you transitioned your life, from being a successful writer to being a mom and a support for a successful comedian, and also now being a team. Like you said, you were always a team, but like legitimately look around. Like you built this like with him. That's incredible. And I don't know if very many people can really say that. Usually it's one person that's doing all the work and the other person is kind of watching by the silence, but you never were that. And that's incredible.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's so true.
There are a lot of people that work parallel. You know? And you and Bert seem to intersect a lot. And I think it's, the nature of your kids reflects that. That's why our kids are friends with your kids. And,
yes.
Whatever template you had that you were holding up to yourself as a parent or a mom, our kids view you as super mom. So you should totally take that with you for whatever that's worth. And
and I know you convey a lot about yourself, your life. Bert does on his podcast and whatnot. But people that are now listening to us do ask us, how are they
in person? Yeah,
And
for
obviously,
real.
our interactions with you are very limited. But every time we've interacted with you, it is very real. And I've told everyone, like, there is genuine and generous and kind as they seem to be.
Aw,
And that
that's
is
so nice to
very
say.
true. So, you know,
Well-
Authenticity speaks, like I said, especially in the eyes of teenagers.
No.
So they can sniff a fake right away.
Yeah.
They have
you
a
know?
good bullshitometer, don't
They
they?
absolutely do.
They do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I mean, I think that Bert and I were very lucky to find each other, to have our value systems line up.
Mhm.
And at the core of both of us is a lot of gratitude.
Aw,
You know,
that's really
I
nice to
have-
hear.
I have two words that I say always. Life is about grace and gratitude. And grace has a lot of meanings. You know, it means how you move through the world. It means the grace of God. It means the grace you give other people, the benefit of the doubt you give someone, the wide berth someone might need, someone that may not have the best intentions, the grace you can allow people to make a mistake.
Mhm.
Grace is a really powerful word. And gratitude is everything.
It's true.
If you can
right?
find the gratitude in the bad stuff,
Yeah.
you can have gratitude everywhere. I mean, I am not grateful. I mean, I am grateful for some of the bad experiences because I wouldn't want them. I wouldn't go, hey, guess what's happening tonight? I'm getting date raped. I wouldn't have done that.
Mhm.
But I can take that experience and go, what did I learn? And how do I do better? And how do I help other people do better? And I can find the grace and the gratitude in how I've handled that bad moment in my life and moved past it. And there's so many, I can say that about my mom. I can say that about the hard times I've had in my marriage.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not all been smooth sailing with a husband that works
Sure.
and us not being on the same page and fighting. You fight.
Yeah,
I'm
of
sure
course.
you've always had
Nah,
arguments.
not us.
But if you approach
Yeah.
that hurt
Mhm.
when your spouse hurts you with grace and gratitude, the hurt goes away very fast.
Mm.
You know, and forgiveness.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
forgiveness sets you free.
That's key.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
It resenting something keeps you in chains. It does nothing for the person you resent.
Oh, that's true.
You know,
For
spend
sure.
my life resenting Bert for being on the road. Well, I'm the one suffering.
It's
that
true.
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So to forgive him for anything he might have missed or done poorly is freedom. And then that freedom allows you to have the grace and the gratitude to just, you know, I don't know, be the best person. You being your best person inspires other people to be their best person.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah.
So your only option in life is to strive to be your best person. You won't always make it. But if you're trying to be your best person, then everyone around you has to show up with that too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
in the beginning, when you were talking about people who show up with these ulterior, they don't show up. And I think that's why. Because anybody who's not being their best person is afraid of me.
Oh, okay. That's a good
There,
point.
yeah. There's probably, I mean, I believe that's probably legitimate, you know?
It is legitimate because Bert's like you. Bert told me this from the beginning. You scare the shit out of people because you are exactly who you say you are and you do exactly what you say. And people who aren't like that are like, ooh, they got to go hide. They
Right.
get scared.
Oh, that's a really good point, LeeAnn.
Mhm. So
So-
I am what you see, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm an open book and I have no hidden agenda. There's nothing. This is it. And some people who haven't figured out who they are or don't have the best motives are afraid of that.
Mm.
Huh. All right. That's a very good point, which you come at it at an angle that I wouldn't have thought of. So that's really, yeah, that's
I
accurate.
don't know. People have always been scared of me. I've always scared people off. And it makes me feel bad. I'm like, I don't understand why she won't talk to me. And Bert's like, you are terrifying. And I'm like, I'm not terrifying. He's like, you are terrifying because you're always honest.
Right.
You're always direct.
Honesty's a huge, I mean, that's a repellent for a lot
It
of people.
is. It totally is.
Come on.
And I go, give it to me, give it to me. I'd much rather know what your agenda is because believe me, I spent my life raised by someone who had every agenda hidden.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you got a hidden agenda, I'm out. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't process that. So, but that doesn't work for a lot of people. And it is scary. I am very direct. And I wouldn't have it any other way. This
Yeah.
is who I am. I've always been this way.
I love it. I'm kind of like that too. I mean, so I actually appreciate that, but I never looked at it from that angle that is terrifying to people, and it can make people run for the hills. So okay. So back to that question, you really don't get a lot of those people because they're too intimidated. Okay,
I think so. My mom
Yeah.
used to introduce me like this. She'd go, "This is LeeAnn. If you want to know the truth, if you don't want to know the truth, don't ask her." When I was a kid.
That's great.
And I'd be like, okay. I mean, as a really small kid, because one of her friends would say, "What do you think about this dress?" And I'd go, "Not good. Does not good." And my mom would say, "See?
I love that.
See?
I
Don't
love
ask
that.
her if you don't want to know because she can't tell you anything else."
Wow.
But
Okay.
anyway.
Oh, well, this was great. We took up so much of your time.
No, you didn't.
Thank you for sharing your studio with us.
Oh, I was
really
happy
appreciate
to.
that. Oh my goodness.
This was great.
Well, I'm quite flattered that you were curious about me. I'm very flattered.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think of myself as anything particularly special or different than anybody else.
We
So
disagree.
thank you.
Absolutely.
Well,
disagree.
thank you. Thank you. I'm just good at talking. That's all.
No, you're good at a lot more than that.
Oh, thank you.
Now, everybody uses words. It's what happens with the words when you're saying them that I think resonates with people.
It does.
So,
And you're not just a talker, you're a doer.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true. I am a
Yes,
doer.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
so-
thank you for sharing this 2 hours. Oh my gosh, with us, an hour and 15 so 2 hours and 15.
We're not
so
counting.
Cha-ching.
LeeAnn told us not to count
I know.
anymore.
No,
I
don't
know,
count.
but-
I'm not worried about
I know, but thank you. So, this is where it started with us, and I'm so grateful that you were here to interview. So thank you. Any last words?
No, empty nest, full tank from our end. Happy to be on the set of Wife of the Party. Really great stuff to be back. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And I can't wait for our episode.
Okay, here we go.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.